As a child growing up in New Jersey, I was one of 4 African-American students to integrate 2 portions of the New Jersey school system. And along with that integration process came all the concomitant name calling and being spit on, etc. All the things that you go through when you're in that situation. And it stayed with me for a long time. I mean, the trauma that I was subjected to as one of the only black students to go to that particular school, which would have been Stockton Junior High School, and then later Columbia Junior High School. Stockton grade school and Columbia Junior High School. And I distinctly remember walking into the gymnasium at Columbia Junior High, an all-white school, and they were playing basketball in the gymnasium in the bottom of the gym. And when I walked through the door, it was like something out of an old movie. The basketball stopped in mid-flight. The players stopped. They all turned towards the door. One of them pointed at me. I'll never forget it. His name was Edward DeToli. And Edward DeToli said, "Geez, guys, look at the nose on that booger." And I stopped because I wanted to see the nose on the booger too. So I turned around, not realizing he was talking about me. And of course I was embarrassed and hurt and all the rest of those good things. And he came over and he looked, he said, "Geez, you could park a car in that thing," talking about my nose. And other kids would come up and they'd rub their finger on my face. I said, "No, it doesn't come off." Some of these kids had literally never seen a black person before in their life, much less gone to school with them and been in close proximity to them. And at that time, I had a full head of hair, believe it or not. And they said, "Do you comb that stuff?" I said, "Yeah." I mean, so I went home and I told my mother, I said, "Ma, you won't believe the way these kids act towards me." She said, "They'll get over it in time." Well, some of them did, some of them didn't. I distinctly remember one kid, he just marveled at everything about me. The fact that I could walk upright. He even asked me, he said, "Do you have a tail?" I said, "No, I don't. I hate to disappoint you, but I don't have a tail." "You sure?" Because he'd been told, our tails came out at midnight and all the other myths that go along with that type of thinking. And it was quite an experience, So Roots was a tremendous gratification for me because it confirmed what I'd been told by my family. We have a history. We are a verbal culture. It was not a written culture. Most African languages and cultures are not of a written nature. And as I got older, it just was such a tremendous feeling of gratification to have been involved in a project that changed people's thinkings about slavery to some degree and changed people's attitudes about their own lineage. Because then it sort of sparked a worldwide search amongst all peoples for their own respective, genealogy. And genealogy searches became very, very popular at that time. People wanted to know, well, where did we come from? We're Irish or we're Lithuanian or wherever. Where did we come from? Who are our roots? And I do remember my dad, John Amos Sr., telling me at that time, I asked him, I said, "Dad, what do you know about our history? What do you know about our family history?" And he said, "Well, we only go back as far as the first one of us that got here, and they named him Amos. And I said, "Amos." I said, "You know anything about him?" "The only thing we know about him is that they say he had the loudest voice on the plantation." And years later, in fact, just a year or so ago, my daughter was doing family research on her own. She's an independent producer. Shannon, a very capable producer. And she found Amos being the first slave of our family to be brought to these shores. And I thought it was a tremendous vindication, validation of what my dad had told me just in an idle conversation.